Every action starts with a door. Your brain opens it for just 10 seconds. If you step through, momentum begins. If you hesitate, the door slams shut. Not later, not slowly, instantly. And once it shuts, your brain switches modes from let's go to let's escape. You think you're pausing, but your brain is already retreating because hesitation feels like danger. And your brain's first job isn't achievement, it's survival at all costs. That's why even tiny delays feel heavy, because the door's closed and you're still staring at it. The first 10 seconds aren't just a chance. They're the only chance your brain will give you. Welcome to No Brain, Fix Habit. This isn't another motivational channel. We dissect your brain and question your life. Here we mix behavioral science with brutal honesty to rebuild habits that actually last. If you're tired of surface-level hacks and ready to rewire from the root, you're home. Part 1. Why you keep losing to yourself. Starting isn't a decision your brain makes, it's a launch sequence it runs. That sequence doesn't wait for your permission, it waits for motion. When you move within seconds, the system locks in and fires. But if you pause too long, the brain sees failure before you even begin. You might think you're just hesitating, but your system thinks the launch failed. Once it marks that failure, it stops fueling the behavior. Study, Stanford Neuroscience Lab, 2018. No movement, no behavioral execution. That's why even tapping a single key can keep the sequence alive. But if your body stays still, your brain cancels the mission. It doesn't ask for reasons, it just assumes the risk was too high. The system isn't built to wait, it's built to act or abort. And the more often you stall, the faster it learns to shut things down. Study, Harvard Behavioral Science, 2019. No follow-through equals long-term dopamine resistance. That's why thinking harder doesn't help. It deepens the abort reflex. Your brain isn't punishing you, it's protecting resources. If nothing moved, then nothing was worth pursuing. So now you're not still deciding. You're shut down. The scary part is, you probably didn't feel it happen. Study Max Planck Institute 2021. Passive initiations reinforce motor-level retreat. That retreat doesn't look dramatic, it looks like I'll do it later. But to your system, it's not a delay, it's a decision. And decisions, once repeated, become scripts. Your brain doesn't remember your excuses, it remembers your patterns. So if every launch ends with a silent exit, that becomes the story. And once that story takes hold, what you do next isn't action, it's survival. Part 2, final version, punchline integrated. Most people don't miss the moment because they're lazy. They miss it because it feels unsafe. The moment asks for action, but your brain searches for guarantees. It wants certainty, clarity, and zero threat before you even take the first step. And since life rarely gives that, your system hits the brakes. It labels the unknown as dangerous and then calls your stillness smart. That's not hesitation. That's self-preservation wearing a new outfit. Study, University of British Columbia, 2020. Uncertainty activates the same brain regions as physical threat. That's why you scroll instead of act. It feels safer to delay than to risk being wrong. But the longer you delay, the more threatening the task becomes. The brain doesn't forget the task, it upgrades the fear. What was once a small step now feels like a giant cliff, and the more cliffs your brain sees, the less it trusts you to jump. Study, Columbia University, 2017. Avoidance strengthens threat pathways in the amygdala. That means the next time you even think of starting, your body feels resistance before your brain says a word. You're not overthinking, you're preloaded with resistance. Avoidance isn't rest, it's a drug your brain prescribes to silence discomfort. And the more you take it, the harder it is to move. So now starting doesn't just feel hard, it feels wrong. Study MIT Brain and Cognitive Sciences 2021. Delay patterns rewire prefrontal control into avoidance bias. That retreat doesn't look dramatic. It looks like I'll do it later. But to your system, it's not a delay, it's a decision. You didn't quit, you delayed, then delayed again and again. Until your brain called it your personality. Maybe the task wasn't scary, maybe your brain just rehearsed fear too many times. You can't wait to feel ready, because ready is just your fear trying to sound rational. And the only way to override that system is what we'll explore next. Part 3, how the brain creates instant escape loops. Your brain was never trained to complete tasks. It was trained to avoid threats, and anything that feels hard, vague, or risky gets flagged as a threat. Once that label is applied, your brain starts scanning for escape routes. It doesn't care if the threat is real, it cares if it feels real. And the fastest escape? Distraction, delay, or default behaviors. These become your loop because they bring relief without resolution. Study, UCLA Psychology, 2019. The ventromedial prefrontal cortex favors short-term relief over long-term reward. That means your brain isn't wired to finish, it's wired to feel safe now. So it builds habits, not for progress, but for escape. You reach for your phone, not because you're bored, but because you're triggered. And once the loop brings relief, it gets saved in your behavioral memory. Next time, your brain won't even ask, it'll just run the script. Study, McGill University, 2022. Habitual behaviors are stored and re-triggered via motor loops, bypassing executive decision systems. That's why your hand opens the app before your mind even notices. Your brain isn't deciding, it's replaying. It doesn't care if the loop is helpful, it only cares if it stops the tension, and the more times you repeat it, the faster it runs. Eventually, the escape becomes instant and invisible. Study Yale Neuroscience, 2018. Repetition lowers conscious awareness of automatic behaviors. That's why you say, I don't know why I did that, because you didn't decide. The loop decided for you based on what brought relief last time. You can't think your way out of a loop, because loops run faster than thought. The only way to break the loop is to interrupt the autopilot. Not with force, not with logic, but with friction. And that friction, the thing that jolts the loop, is what we'll decode next. Part 4, Friction, Not Force, How to Interrupt the Pattern. You can't break a loop by pushing harder, you break it by changing the script. Willpower wears out, but systems don't. They run with or without your mood. So instead of trying to win the loop, you insert friction right where it starts. Friction isn't pain, it's just enough resistance to wake up your awareness. Because most loops run in silence until something interrupts the autopilot, and that something is friction by design. Study, Stanford Behavior Design Lab. 2021, small design friction increases conscious engagement by 61%. Think of it like putting a rock in the path, small enough to step over, but big enough to notice. It could be moving your phone across the room, or disabling one-tap shortcuts. These micro adjustments don't block the loop, they break its rhythm. And when the rhythm breaks, awareness slips in, and that's your opening. You're not forcing change, you're creating an interruption window. Study. Duke Habit Lab, 2020. Disruption windows increase behavior rewiring by 48% when used within first 5 seconds. Friction also gives your rational brain time to re-engage, before habit takes over. Because when things are too easy, the habit wins by default. But when something feels off, your system pauses to investigate. That pause is gold. It's the one chance to rewrite the ending. Study, Harvard Cognitive Lab, 2018. Momentary interruption boosts memory reconsolidation and decision override. That's why systems with microfriction outperform those built on motivation. Friction forces the loop to slow down so awareness can catch up. And once you're aware, you can choose, rather than just repeat. The goal isn't to block the loop, it's to beat it to the punch. Not by fighting harder, but by designing smarter. And if you design the right kind of friction, even your worst loop can be hacked. So what does that friction look like exactly? That's what Part 5 is all about. Part 5, the 10-second action plan. Don't plan the task, design the start. Prepare just the first 10 seconds of action and leave everything else alone. Rename your task with a sound or gesture, so your brain links it to momentum. Example, clap your hands, whisper launch, or snap your fingers before starting. Place a physical blocker between you and your default distraction. It could be as simple as closing the laptop, flipping your phone face down, or unplugging a mouse. Shift locations for the first 10 seconds. Just stand up and move 3 steps. That physical shift breaks the mental loop and reboots your attention. Set a countdown sound, but delay it by 3 seconds before it plays. That short delay creates micro-friction and invites decision. Use visible permission. Put a sticky note that says "Just begin" in your line of sight. Don't aim for progress, just aim to cross the start line once. Track only one thing. Did I trigger the first 10 seconds today? Because starting isn't the warm-up, it's the win. And the next video will help you redesign your entire system, so starting isn't a struggle anymore.